Noted that for attendance. Let it know for attendance that everyone is here except for Rebecca, who was excused. What's going on here is be recording. Okay. Okay, so as far as roll call, everyone is here except for Rebecca, who is excused. Item number C, approval of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item number D, regular business, certificate of appropriateness 22-02, consideration and possible action on a design review for foundation repairs at 515 Cass Street. Jason.
Yes, here you see a map showing the location of 515 Cass Street. And just looking to see if you can hear me. Two pictures of the house itself. One of the pictures is from 2015, the other one from 2019. So you've got what, an American Foursquare with a full width front porch. It's got replacement siding, a lot of replacement windows, not much in way of historic material. Oddly enough, if you go to the next slide, one of the few, historic character elements of the house is the original cast block foundation. And what we're talking about today is replacing that cast block foundation with a new foundation. The end of this story really is that I recommend approval. There's a little bit of confusion on my end about what portion of the front porch needs to be removed in order to provide access to the excavators to replace the foundation. But we're talking about a foundation upgrade. We have a few pictures on the next slide of interior condition of the building. Exciting to note that the current owner is investing a lot of money in the property. I also can't stress enough that a lot of that investment would be eligible for the state historic preservation tax credit if you apply before you begin the work. So that's where we're at. Next slide. Recommendation is to approve. Want to make sure we all have a better understanding of what's going to happen to the front porch. And again, to emphasize that the tax credit is on the line here too. Thank you.
Jason, I have a question for you. What is the finish on the block that's being proposed?
That's what I wanted to know too.
I think we have an owner representative here, but the last communication I had on that was a split face block from Menards. So it's a concrete block that has the jaggedy face that kind of gives it a little bit of character.
Kind of similar appearance.
Speaking from my perspective, no, it's not similar at all. But anybody walking by, it's going to be, a foundation block. So.
I know that there was a person in the neighborhood many years ago that changed out their foundation. And it was a rough block and then a thin line of smooth, and then a rough block, a thin line of smooth. And when they put it back as the rough block, they didn't put the smooth in between. And it were not approved for the historic tax credits. So just note to self, the building did have more integrity than historical integrity than the one that we're talking about, but that was an issue. So just as an FYI.
Well, and I did provide links to manufacturers of the same block that exists today. You can buy reproduction blocks, so to speak. So.
Sure. Yep.
I would make a motion to open the floor.
I'll second that.
Maybe someone could talk about that, the owner. So.
Yeah, maybe on mute.
Oh, sorry. I said second, but I said all in favor.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays? Okay, so we'll open the floor and who do we have with us here?
My name is Jason Minster. I'm the property owner, and then we've got Bob Berger from Tribute Construction that was going to be performing the foundation repair work. So anything kind of project related, Bob, I don't know if you want to comment on exactly the work that we're doing there. There was a question, I believe, from Jason regarding clarity around the removal of the porch and what needs access. A lot of the pictures that you guys saw that I shared with Stephanie, it was hard to see in that picture, but you can literally see daylight through them. So the anticipation is the full front porch to be removed and put on, as a lot of the the cracks and the deterioration in the foundation in that front facing piece, where you could literally see right through, and there's daylight coming through. So Bob, I'll kind of turn to you if you want to add any detail regarding the specifics of the project and what you guys anticipate doing there. But I just want to make sure we're answering Jason's question. So.
Sure. Yeah. So as far as the front porch goes, just the boards and the stringers need to be temporarily removed so we can get in there and excavate and do our job. The main vertical support beams will remain in place. We can work around those. And then, everything can get put back exactly the way it was. It doesn't need to be changed. I don't know if any boards are going to get wrecked, taking them off or not. That's something that we don't do. We just need it gone to be able to do our job.
Yep. So I guess a question for the homeowner: are you going to pursue historic tax credits for the work or not?
That's a great question. Candidly, prior to this meeting, I didn't even know those existed. The only reason we're at this meeting, I was unaware that this was in a historical district. So this was kind of news to me. So I just want to appreciate you guys coming together in a special meeting. I wasn't trying to circumvent anything with the Landmarks Commission. It was all news to me. So I'd absolutely be looking forward to potentially applying for those. I don't know much about those. I haven't dealt with a property before that's subject to potential tax credits. So if they're available, I'd love to pursue that, but it wasn't anything that I was planning on prior to going into the project, or that I had my kind of financial calculations built around as I was planning on my investment in the property.
Sure. I mean, you're essentially going to be able to yield 25% of the value of what you're putting into it for those eligible items as a credit. So if you're spending $10,000 and you have $10,000 worth of eligibility, you can claim a $2,500 tax credit, not a deduction, a straight credit. So
Ian, question for you then, to follow up with what you said before about the example of the other home. If in the case of the Munsters home, they just replace it with the Menards blocks versus the replicant blocks, do you see that tax credit not being available?
it could potentially not be available. I guess that's why I asked the question, if you're going to pursue it. If you're not pursuing it, I think the motion on the recommendation I would support. But if you are pursuing historic tax credits, I would not do the work without contacting the State Historic Preservation Office, getting their approval, and then doing the work, just because I know of one instance where that was an issue for a homeowner that was recouping tax credits.
Is that, just a further clarifying question, then, is that subject only to exterior, like the foundation work? Because I'm planning on putting somewhere between $80,000 to $100,000 in the property. A lot of it will be, as you saw some of the pictures, is going to be needed for rehabbing the inside. Is that, are those tax credits subject to the whole project or just exterior?
Certain elements of it, you can't use it for landscaping or driveways, but you can for mechanical systems, electrical systems, tuck pointing, all of those types of things. There's on the Jason should have a link pretty readily available to the State Historic Preservation tax credits and their kind of general guidelines. But yeah, if I was you, I wouldn't jump into doing the work without pursuing that. And if you want to if you're going to be changing mechanical and electrical systems, then I think you'd be crazy not to be quite frank with you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion too, is to check into the tax credits and the requirements before you purchase any materials, any project. And then also, I don't know if they've changed this, but it used to be you could go up to $40,000 a year that you could get a tax credit on. So some people, they had really big projects, would split it between 2 years so they could take full advantage of those credits.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
I was going to ask Bob, have you done historic preservation projects before? Something like this? I mean, you're just putting in a foundation, but have you been involved in anything like this before?
Not exactly like this. Not in Green Bay for sure. I did other work out like by Wapaka on a historical house, but most of that foundation was not exposed, so it didn't really apply to us.
Right.
So we don't go anything above the foundation, so I'm not real familiar with that. So
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I just wanted to say if we are going to go with those replica block, we just have to see, you know, what the cost difference would be, and the timeline, I guess, would be the big thing on that. How long it takes to get those things. Probably need about, I didn't do the math, but I'm guessing about 200 block are going to be exposed. Current price for the Menards block, you're probably at $4 to $5 a block. So I don't know what the replicas would cost and to get them there, you know.
Right.
So
But is that something that you would do? Would you would do, or the homeowner would do? You would check on that, or I guess, Jason, you would have to figure that out too a little bit as far as how you want to proceed, because you're being told a few new things tonight, and it seems like you'd be interested in pursuing this.
Well, I've got, you know, a bunch of competing priorities. It's the tax credit. It's also timing, the way that we're financing the project. You know, a lot of the work we have basically 6 months to get done. So I'm already kind of a few months behind the 8 ball on that. Not that anyone saw on the call, but just not knowing what I didn't know and kind of causing things to get strung out a little bit. So that's also something that I'm weighing before finance penalties and those things come in, because we were trying to get the project done within 6 months of purchase. And we're 3 months into that already without having been able to really do anything. So we're kind of behind. So I'm also weighing that as well. But I appreciate the feedback, Mark. Absolutely.
Jason, I did just email you a link about the state tax credit program, and then the email address of our stateside rep. So you could just contact them directly if you have any questions about the program.
Perfect. Got it. I see it here. Thanks, Stephanie.
For future reference, I think, not just for Jason, but it would be nice to have a video or something in place for citizens who are in a historic district and may not be aware of, you know, a couple of A, B, and C's on something like this. I think it would be a good tool, and we might want to think about that for the future.
Great.
Well, do we have to close the floor? We'd have to close the floor if anybody else.
I'll motion to close the floor if nobody else has any comments.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, the ayes have it. All right, we'll close the floor.
I guess I'm okay making a recommendation to approve the block as proposed, subject to the owner determining whether they're going to pursue historic tax credits. If they are, that would be the overriding.
I'd like to ask one question. Could we approve it both ways? If they do decide to use the historic block, they wouldn't have to come back before us? Or they could go ahead and do it as proposed? I mean, are we able to do that or not?
I think if you did it as proposed and it was more like it after the fact, we're going to be better. So I think if you approve the lesser of the two, the better of the two would apply.
Okay.
But I think, but I guess that's a good question for Jason and Stephanie.
Yeah, I would think if you guys wanted to make a recommendation for approval with being subject to, you know, what's proposed is approved. However, if they go for state tax credits, that whatever SHPO approves is also approved by us, kind of leaving like a blanketed, because whatever SHPO approve is obviously higher quality than what they're going to have there. So that kind of language would be sufficient.
Would you like to make that your motion, Ian?
I'd like to make that my motion.
Do we have okay, all in favor of that? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, the ayes have it. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, Jason, let me know what you decide on that and we'll get going.
Sounds good. Anything else anyone needs from Bob or I appreciate the help and I appreciate the special meeting. Really do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for buying a home in the neighborhood and making it good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to the end product. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. I really appreciate it.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
I noticed there isn't a portico share on that building, but I'm still okay with it.
I wanted to say portico share.
Just ultimately on a tactical radio channel. Eventually it'll happen.
That's right.
There we go. Okay, item number E, informational. Date of next meeting is Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Does anybody else have any other information that they would like to share? And do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll motion to adjourn.
And we have a second. Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.